You think power gives you respect? Honey, it only gives you a lesson if you use it wrong. If you love powerful stories, you don't want to miss this. But before we continue, tell us where you are watching from. It makes us happy to see how far our stories travel. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It all started on a Tuesday morning that smelled like freshly cut grass and regret. Karen Kensington, the neighborhood's self-appointed queen of rules, strutted down her cul-de-sac like she owned the entire block. Her heels clicked a rhythm of entitlement on the concrete as she scanned the neighborhood for, well, someone to boss around. But that day, the universe had a sense of humor. I was mowing my lawn when Karen appeared with that famous smirk, the one that said, "I'm about to ruin your day." She pointed to my security chain, the one on my gate, and declared, "That's against HOA rules. You know the code." I didn't even flinch. Instead, I counted the positions of her tiny army. Her neighbor backing her up, probably for moral support, the lawn sprinklers threatening a sneak attack, and the glaring sun casting dramatic shadows. Then came the moment that turned calm into chaos. With a sly grin, I stepped forward, and the bolt cutters, quietly resting against the fence, whispered a metallic secret. Clang! Karen's eyes went wide. That sharp, echoing snap was the sound of her authority snapping. And the best part, it wasn't anger that filled her face. It was disbelief, pure, unfiltered disbelief. And just like that, the neighborhood's self-proclaimed queen was about to learn a lesson in humility. And trust me, it was going to be sweet. Karen's jaw was still locked in disbelief when I leaned on the gate, casual as if nothing had happened. She opened her mouth to scold, but the words got stuck somewhere between shock and embarrassment. The whole street had paused, birds mid-flight, sprinklers spraying lazily like the universe itself was watching her unravel. You can't just, she stammered, pointing at the now broken chain. "Oh, but I just did," I said, grinning, "and you're welcome for the free lesson in humility." Her face turned a shade that could only be described as deeply offended sunset. But that wasn't all. One by one, little comedic disasters unfolded. The neighbor backing her up tripped on his own garden hose, splashing mud onto his crisp white shirt. The sprinklers, as if on cue, sprayed her heels, turning them into soggy, slippery traps. And somewhere, a cat, a small gray witness to this theater, let out a triumphant hiss. Karen tried to regain control, hands on her hips, but the street had turned into a stage, and she was the punchline. Every word she shouted was met with laughter from a few brave onlookers who had gathered silently, too stunned to intervene. By the time she stormed off, muttering about HOA rules and unacceptable behavior, the scene was set. Karen, flustered and wet, had underestimated the calm and clever. And trust me, this was only the beginning. The real revenge? It was coming. Slow, sweet, and poetic, like icing on a cake she didn't even know existed. Karen Kensington thought her humiliation on the street would be the last anyone saw of it. Oh, she was so wrong. A week later, she strutted back, heels sharper than ever, ready to reclaim her queen status. But the universe and I had other plans. I had spent the week quietly plotting, all while keeping a smile that said, "Oh, you'll see." That morning, I baked a batch of cupcakes for a small HOA gathering, each one innocently frosted, but with a little surprise. You see, Karen loved to flaunt her fancy monogrammed keychain everywhere. And wouldn't you know it, one bite, one sweet, chocolatey bite, and she realized that her prized possession had disappeared from her bag, replaced with a tiny note. "Rules are for everyone, Karen." Her face? Priceless. Then came the pièce de résistance, the neighborhood newsletter. I had quietly contributed a story, fictional of course, but oh so close to reality, about a certain HOA president who overstepped her boundaries and faced poetic justice. By the time Karen opened it, everyone around chuckled knowingly. Her embarrassment was loud, public, and absolutely delicious. And yet, the funniest part? Through all this chaos, Karen refused to show real anger. Instead, she flailed dramatically, a storm in heels, as if the world had personally conspired against her. By the end of the day, one thing was clear. Karen had underestimated the power of calm, wit, and subtle revenge. She'd learned that rules aren't just about control, they're about respect. And sometimes, laughter is the sweetest comeback of all. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you're loving this story. Karen Kensington's final act of arrogance came one bright Saturday morning. She had gathered her usual entourage, determined to assert her authority over the neighborhood once again. But this time, I was ready. I had invited the local HOA board and a few neighbors over for what I called a community showcase. Tables were set, flowers bloomed, and sunlight glinted off polished surfaces. Karen arrived, heels clicking, confidence blazing, and immediately stepped into her first surprise. A banner reading, Rules, Respect, and Reality Check. Today we celebrate balance. She froze. The crowd turned, smiles everywhere. I stepped forward with a tray of sparkling lemonade, offering her the first glass. As she took it, a subtle pop of confetti, hidden in the drink, exploded, showering her like a dramatic curtain call. The neighbors gasped and laughed, her face a mix of shock and disbelief. But the sweetest part, the board handed her a tiny HOA Reminder Award for most dramatic misinterpretation of rules. She tried to protest, but the humor was irresistible, her dignity evaporating faster than morning dew. By the end, Karen left with a smile forced by social pressure, realizing that authority without humility is comedy in motion. The neighborhood had witnessed a beautiful transformation. Respect, laughter, and justice served in the most artful, memorable way. The lesson? Sweet revenge doesn't scream. It winks, it twists, it unfolds perfectly, leaving you both victorious and gracious. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this story. Tell us where you're watching from. It makes us happy to see how far our stories travel.